So I will be reading from, obviously, my laptop because I've been working on this for many years. It is entirely too much to have memorized, and let alone to be conveyed in a proper way, suiting of YouTube and all of the standards set for video quality and all that garbage. I'm sure you know how it is. But I will be reading from my writing project. So forgive me if I'm not constantly looking in the camera. So now let's run our mind's clock back, all right? To time immemorial, so to speak. There was a point in time that the people of the earth were truly free, living in harmony with the spirit of our Mother Earth. Right? You would think so. And nature itself, obviously, sustainably, efficiently, and peacefully. Now imagine, what kind of person during these times would hatch such a devious scheme as to implement concepts such as coinage? Why would they do such a thing? Treasures, loot, currency, dinero, whatever you may prefer to call it. Why would they have done such a thing to influence a world of truly free people? To make an embodiment of a fallacious concept known today as debt. To ultimately enslave the populace of Earth. The pyramids and the Roman Empire certainly weren't built with consensual labor. I'll say that much. Now, before we move our mind's clock forward, if you're not familiar with the butterfly effect, it is this. Say you are watching a river flow. If you hurl a large rock into the riverbed, it could potentially be 1,000 years down the road. That river could change directions or dry up, or even worse, cause some sort of cataclysm millennia down the road. Because that one action, the way that rock's influence in the changing flow of the water thousands of years down the road could have led to an apocalypse, right? That's the butterfly effect, essentially, in a nutshell. Some people say a butterfly flaps its wings in 1,000 years, there's a hurricane. That's a simple way of putting it. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, keep in mind the butterfly effect. In the moment currency had been introduced and how that detrimentally impacted each and every moment throughout each and every minute, hour, day, nights, weeks, months, years, decades, centuries, and millennia. All the way through time to this day. You and me share in this moment. Whichever timeline you may be on. That is. Now, ask yourself and reflect upon how many empires and civilizations have risen and fallen at the hands of corrupt leaders, kings, and queens. Rulers alike. And how many unnecessary casualties of tyranny, corruption, and greed have suffered a tortured life of slavery, starvation, separatism, segregation, discrimination, homelessness, and injustice from the parasitic greed of money and power that currency instills in those who have amassed it. It's only too many to count on all of our fingers combined. The Earth is 4.543 billion years old. Some people still think the Earth is less than 6,000 years old, but we'll get to that another time as to why some people believe that. In this year of 2022, where has the flow of that currency been going for all of those years? People will fallaciously tell you something about trickle-down economics, right? Well, there's a true misconception for the fact that the money never flows downward. It is constantly flowing upward. Keeps flowing to the top. The only thing trickling down upon us is the dregs of the metaphorical sewage. Pennies from heaven, if you will. The sheer amount of currency that has been flowing upwards since that diabolical scheme unfurled is unfathomable. At what point do they stop bleeding us dry? Will we let them forever? We will not. No. Let me convey an anecdote that may be more palatable. I'm sure many of you have played role-playing games, say Skyrim, for example. You start the game with 0 gold septims, coins, fart bucks, or whatever form of currency your game would use. You pick up loot, steal, earn as much gold as often as you can, yes? Now let's say you use the console command in the PC version to give yourself 13 trillion gold septims, or units of currency. At that point, you no longer have any need or desire to pick up coins, steal, loot, or even do side quests for some gold pieces to enjoy the game the way it was meant to be played. Or the way you wanted to play it. Because the need of that currency is no longer even a thought in your mind. There's no longer a desire for shiny circles of metal. You can finally focus on your favorite aspects of the game. Now, that is the point at which you think enough is enough, right? Excuse me, too much tea. I can stop picking up stupid coins, finally. We don't have to worry about running out in your character's life in that game. It becomes more enjoyable, no? The group of people at the top, I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, the 1%, or, shockingly enough, the 0.1%. They do not stop bleeding us dry. Enough is never enough. It's not just about money for them. The money flows to them, and enough is never enough. The putridity has become them, has illusioned their minds into a false sense of importance and elitism. When they have done nothing aside from being born in the high tower, suckling the golden teats of their surrogate mothers, feeding them fallacies from platinum spoons, unawares of their own detrimental complacency and disregard for the curse they have placed upon themselves. The blood-stained foundations of the very streets your home is built upon, reeks of the countless bodies laid waste by their inexorable greed, to keep you in an indistinguishable labyrinth of illusion and complacency. Do you trust the world governments? I certainly do not, as that culture of unfounded elitism has a stranglehold on our so-called leaders' so-called minds. Have you heard of the Boston Tea Party? Imagine, if you will, an adolescent nation still trying to fledge, working towards freedom and independence, being taxed at a whopping 1% rate from a dark cloud far across the sea's horizon. The people of this colony get word of an increase of 2% to the taxation rate, a staggering 3%. And so came about an act of rebellion known as the Boston Tea Party, ultimately leading to the formation of an independent nation of freedom, which now taxes its people at a rate of over 30%. Highway robbery. Taxation is theft. While I'm on the topic of government robbing its people through taxes, allow me to bring up law enforcement in the form of a question. You ever received a traffic violation, aka speeding ticket? If not, I'm sure you have a good reason. Perhaps you are a responsible driver, or in a monitored work vehicle, Amazon. You may even wish to drive as fast as you want. I certainly do. But you, an innocent, law-abiding citizen, are afraid of police officers, as well as the known fact that they love to abuse their sense of power. Not to mention the the ticket, rather, that he hands you, if you're lucky, that is. Some folks who have darker skin are at a higher risk of discrimination and police brutality, believe it or not. But I'll be sure to go in overt detail about police corruption on another day, another video. We are still thinking about how the government's tyrannically dividing, controlling, and looting every citizen. This highway robbery I mentioned is just that. Now the thieves carry a badge that says to protect and serve. And take your loot to the big man upstairs. To protect their job by serving tickets is more like it.